Just kidding. All right, let me share my screen. We're gonna try and hit as many just final reminders as we can for folks. Um, Feel free to drop any questions either into the Q&A or the chat. And let me go full screen here. Okay. There's actually just a few reminders we want to get through, mainly just to help you guys make the most out of SaaStr Annual this year. So there are still some like small tasks to do, but I think you guys have made it through the big hurdles now. So yeah, this will be pretty light. There are still things to do and take note of. But yeah, for the most part, just get excited. I think that's the top to do checklist item is getting excited for the annual. So yeah, a few things we'll get into as a reminder of our event location. We are at the San Mateo County Event Center. Now, you might see multiple addresses. That's a question we're starting to get a bit from folks is like, I see either a Saratoga address or like a Delaware address. It's because the San Mateo County Event Center is so big, it takes up multiple blocks. So yeah, you will see two addresses. Usually any address is fine. We have registration at both entry points. So no matter where you're coming into the campus, you'll be able to get in. Just one is a slightly shorter walk, but they're kind of equidistant. So it honestly doesn't matter unless you're bringing stuff in which case you'll want to use the Delaware address the first time you're bringing your stuff in. But otherwise, you can use the Saratoga address or play Uber roulette on wherever they're going to drop you at San Mateo County Event Center. Most Ubers will go to the bigger one, which is totally fine. So yeah, phone numbers. I've put my number here if you guys need to text in case of emergency. Please don't be offended if I don't pick up the phone physically. Text is a lot easier. I'm usually already on the phone, so yeah, just don't be offended, please. And then once you get on site, I'll call this out. Myself and Trish will be around. Trish will be your primary POC on site. I'll be around making the loops, but we will make sure you guys have everything you need, as well as all of our vendors will be on site and have exhibitor services in the expo hall. So anything you might need for like power, AV, Wi-Fi, Freeman, shipping, all that kind of stuff. They will all have electrical, like they'll all have exhibitor services in the expo hall, super handy, and can also help you out with whatever you need. I think the other question we've been getting a lot of, which I'll show you guys on the campus map, is like food and stuff that's included. So we'll get to that in a second. So okay, kind of like last deliverables and deadlines before you guys come to San Mateo. The deadline for customer passes is today. So this is our extension. We extended it to today so that we could remind you all on this webinar and in our follow-up email that the nomination deadline is today. So if you're planning on using your customer passes, please get those in to us today so we can ticket them. It's also a lot better for your customers to have those tickets beforehand if they need to travel or stuff like that. So yeah, today's that deadline. The other thing you'll need to do is if you haven't registered your own teams yet and you still have a few team members, you will want to do that. Lead scanner access has now been sent out to all admins. If for some reason you're missing it, let us know. Email events@saasstrength.com so you can get set up. A few folks have asked us, like, what do I do once I get in the lead scanner app? You just have to like configure whatever fields you want your team to fill in as you're scanning. Some people just leave the default. It's fine. You don't have to do anything. So if you've gotten access and you're in, I'd say it's a good rule of thumb to add your other users, which I'll show you guys how to do today. But really this will take you like 10 minutes to set up. So you can also wait. There's no one to scan yet. So you do not have to do this today. You could do it during early load in, or once you get there, we can help you do it. It's pretty easy. So yeah, there's no one to scan yet because no one has a badge. So nothing to do yet. But those are, yeah, your final reminders. So yeah, again, list is dwindling, which is great. A few quick links here. Again, most of these things you guys will have already seen. We'll cover shipping a little bit more in case you're shipping anything last minute, but most of this you will have already seen. So we'll get into the campus map just because I want to point out a few things. If we haven't gone over this in a really long time with folks, so if you're newer or watching this with the extended team, a few things to note. So a lot of things are in our two big hangars. They're like the size of football fields, so they're very large. So Hangar West and Hangar East has a lot of stuff happening in them, including, the stages, the sponsor halls, etc. And so there is a lot of really great stuff happening in there. In the Hangar West and Hangar East, there are things like food and beverage. So I'll flip to the booth map in a second, but you guys will notice that the sponsor hall rings the cantina. The cantina is our main attendee food and beverage, coffee, and hangout area. So a lot of people will be chilling in the cantina. If you've been to SaaStr Annual, you know this vibe. We do the cantina every year. It's like our main hangout area. It's between the two biggest stages. So yeah, a lot of people hang out in the cantina, and all of you ring the cantina. Some of you are closer, some of you are a little further, but you do all ring the cantina. So yeah, to that point, there is things like, food and beverage. There's breakfast in the mornings. We don't do heavy breakfast. I'll just asterisk that. Like we do breakfast. I don't know. I think because most people are on their own timelines and schedules, we don't do a heavy breakfast because most people will come already breakfasted. That's not a word, but most, yeah, anyways. And like already having one coffee. So we always go kind of light on it, but we do have it if you're in a pinch. And then we do lunch big, obviously, and then things like happy hours have like heavy style of apps and stuff. And so yeah, it's a pretty fair amount of food. There's coffee all day. There's things like, tea if you're not a coffee person. There's, things like soft drinks and waters and Gatorades and like iced teas and slushies in the Airstream and trying to think of other specials, Italian sodas in some places. So yeah, we also do like the bevy water machines, which are like either flavored or normal water, so you can fill up your water bottles. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff on campus and resources. We know that it is a 40-acre campus, so leaving is not usually ideal, especially if you're a sponsor, and you need to be kind of in closer proximity to your booth. But yeah, there is a lot on campus that you can take advantage of, both within the hangars and outside the hangars. So I think I'll just go over a few other things I know people have asked, throughout the years and this year. As a sponsor of annual, I do recommend trying to experience all of SaaStr Annual, right? I know a lot of you are bringing extra folks and rotating in terms of like booth duty per day and by hour so that they can experience the rest of SaaStr Annual, which is great. We have other things going on like the dog lounge and all the lounges we have for like different ticket types and the speakeasy and then the outdoors. Like for those who have been also asking of like, what's a good place to take a meeting if I don't want to take a meeting in your booth. So obviously the cantina is close by. You guys, again, you all ring the cantina. That's a good place to do it. A lot of people will take meetings there. It is, although like one of the more noisier spots on campus. So I would say go outside. There's a ton of seating outside in the Midway picnic here in SaaStr Square Park, back in Camp Hexy's cool zone, kind of in front of the hangar they're seating. So there's a lot of seating outside throughout this campus that is shaded or tented. It's been really nice weather lately in San Mateo Bay Area. So yeah, I would say go outside and take a meeting. Like pick one of these places on the map and say, meet me at Cloud 18, which is the Midway picnic, and I'll see you there. There's plenty of directional signage on site. So if you meet somebody there, they'll, find their way over there. It is 40 acres, but there's like a tram. There's a lot of signage, so you'll get into the groove of it once you get there. But yeah, lots of really great places to take a meeting. I definitely recommend doing meetings outside. It's quite nice, right? So that way you're not stuck in the hangars, both, all of the days that you're at annual. But yeah, the hangars are a nice place to go. Other things on campus, that Midway picnic does have things like lunch because it's a picnic. The dog lounge will have puppies or kind of at slightly different times each day, but usually in like the early afternoon of like adoptable dogs and stuff and therapy dogs. Camp Hexy's cool zone is just like a fun hangout area. We find a lot of people just kind of like chill out back there. I've seen people do Zooms back there. Well, people like to Zoom back there because it's a little quieter. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of really great places on campus. There's also the sixth cloud is our co-working space. So if you're needing like power and stuff and you don't want to take a power in your booth, that's a good place to go. Obviously, I'm seeing a lot of you start to sign up for brain days, which is awesome, and networking. And like I said, yeah, it's a big campus. So to that point, wear comfortable shoes or maybe bring a swap of shoes. If you're wearing, more professional shoes or, me, I love a good sneak. So that's what I'll be in. And yeah, there is grass, right? So it's not all even. So I think another question we've gotten is like, are the hangars are carpeted? But the rest of it is, some of it's outside, so you'll either be on grass or you'll be on concrete. So yeah, you're gonna walk on different surfaces throughout the day. So a reminder to wear sensible shoes when you come. It's a big campus, but it's quite fun. So as I said, you guys do all ring the cantina, which is really fun. There's a lot of stuff going on in the expo hall this year. We've got our two Biggest stages, the co-working, which I just mentioned, which is a great place to work and watch the like stage A content. It's a good place for that. Like I said, the cantina pretty much will have anything you need. There's multiple bathrooms in the expo hall. You don't have to leave the expo hall if you don't want to. I don't recommend that, but yeah, it is a fun vibe in there. The casino's in there, the swag store's in there. The parties by day, which you'll see in a second, are all in there. So there's a lot in there. Okay. We said customer passes are due today. So if you haven't done this yet, you all have a spreadsheet dedicated where you can bring your customers or prospects to SaaStr Annual on us as part of your sponsorship. So you do need to nominate these individuals after you've already invited them and they've accepted, because basically when you add them to your sheet, we go ahead and ticket them. So we've had a few people be like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, well, if you missed the explanation, but basically you're getting, a pass to SaaStr on behalf of the sponsor. Again, it's a lot better if you guys do a first invite versus them just getting randomly ticketed, and also setting time with them, right? I know the majority of you are sponsoring annual for new leads and new revenue, but I'm sure your CEO and your chief customer officer would be happy to know if there are some current customers that you've invited that are coming that you're meeting with as well. So yeah, just from a broader perspective, we do find it helps from just overall ROI. In SaaStr Annual, a lot of people are coming back to the Bay Area. It's a great place to, meet up so that you can save on some flights. So when you put it that way, like, why wouldn't you do this? So again, get those in today if you can. Okay, leads. So I'm going to go ahead and click this because this is live. I tried not to log in this time like I did last week. So I'm going to do a fresh login. Okay, so I'm in. This is what your guys's one will look like. So you'll see annual up here at the top. I know it says the 9th. That's just because, we want this on for like preloaded and stuff. So don't freak out if you're like, what am I missing on the 9th? It's just early load in. It just means that this will all be on by then. So don't freak out. But that's when you can start scanning. So yeah, so if you're in here and you are the POC or you want to send this playback to the POC, really, there's only a few things to do. Again, I don't think it takes more than 10 minutes. So set yourself up, name, address, location, whatever, booth number. I don't have a booth, so I don't have one. And then this is the place to add users. So this is super important for folks. You can add up to, so yourself plus 9 other people for a total of 10. You could do both, methods, because this does go to the Captello mobile app. So you could do both an email invite and an SMS. If for some reason, you're getting error, I did see a question about that in the chat. I find it best to remove this person and then re-add them. It's usually that will solve it right away. It's kind of like resetting your Wi-Fi. But I would say, these, I'm going to show, I don't want to put TJ King's auth code here on blast. So I'm not going to unclick that. But yeah, usually you need this pin just to get into the app the first time. And if for some reason it's erroring, it's probably like didn't talk to the app or something. So yeah, I would just delete them, re-add that person. And then yeah, you can add up to 9 other people for a total of 10. You do count as the primary. So if you are the POC on the lead scanner app, you do count as one of those. And then the next thing you'll do is, like, if you do a text message invitation, if you haven't done this yet, because you've only done like this desktop part, you're going to download the Captello mobile app. So it kind of looks like that. Captello, easy to say and find if you're in the App Store, and then just log in with your same credentials that you do on the desktop, and then this will be your actual way to scan folks, is like on your own personal mobile device there. So that's how you do that. Other than that, you can come into your capture form to configure it. Now, I'll do a quick reminder here. It doesn't mean that SaaStr is going to give you all of these fields by default. You're really doing this so that your sales team or whoever is scanning in the booth will fill this in as they scan. So the forms or data that we give back to you guys by default on this lead scanner will be first name, last name, company, email, title, country, and I think that's it. So yeah, we do the basics. We don't like do phone numbers are not mandatory for folks. So if you need phone number, you need to add this to your thing. You can put in notes, and then yeah, this is where it's configurable, right? So depending on what you want your sales team to do for notes, right? If you want them to maybe at the top rank people, right? So something I always like to keep in mind is, like, you're going to be in front of folks and your team's going to be in front of folks when they're scanning folks. You might want to do like the rating first as like a quick, ABC or like red. You can change this, right? So I'm going to say my first option is red, whatever, yellow as a lead, green. Like you can set this to whatever you want, or you can do numbers if that's the system that you use. Say green. Okay, so now when they're in the app, they'll see red, yellow, green to pick out of their ranking of a prospect. Again, if you do something like a ranking system, et cetera, I usually like to do that first so that you just get that in, and then the rest of us will populate as they scan. And then anything that again is not our field will not populate automatically. So you'll want to do that yourself of like whatever your team will want to add. So yeah, that's really all you need to do. Again, this doesn't take more than 10 minutes. And then once you start to scan people, I haven't scanned anyone because there's no one to scan yet, but once you scan people, they'll show up here in real time. If there's a lag, you probably just need to like, scroll, hit the refresh on your phone so that I can sync to the web. If for some reason you get disconnected or you're in offline mode because you're like, I don't know, hosting your own side event or party and you want to use your lead scanner there, you can use them, but if for some reason you get disconnected, just know like the data is stored locally per user. So like if for some reason you get disconnected, just the next time you connect to Wi-Fi, it's going to upload all those leads. So not to worry there. It works pretty, I've done it before. This one works pretty well in offline mode. So it is fairly good. And that's it. I mean, that was all. That took like 5 minutes. So, if you haven't done this yet, you don't have to do it now. Like I said, you can do it once you get to annual. You can do it now and set up like, any zaps or stuff that you need to do or integrations. But yeah, that's kind of it. So pretty easy on the lead capture. Okay, other reminders are the sponsor hall hours. So again, this is probably something you're now starting to pay attention to of like, when am I arriving? What am I doing? What do I need to know? So for any of you who want to come, you can come to early sponsor loaded hours on Monday. I know of a few folks that are coming even earlier on Monday than 2 p.m., but 2 to 6 is the standard early loading times for Monday. Again, I recommend this if you have something that's maybe a little bit different than a booth or you have a booth activation. Good idea to come do this. It is a good time too if you just want to like come to the campus and get your badges. Really good time to do it. There's no lines on Monday. There's like, only a few people do this as attendees. So it's usually just sponsors. There's usually no line. It's pretty calm. It's open parking on Monday. So again, you could park or Uber roulette wherever. And it's a pretty calm day on campus to get your bearings. I always like to do it, make sure all my packages are there if I'm a sponsor, get a lay of the land, know where I need to go, make a little cheat sheet for my team, hook up to my monitor, that kind of thing. So, get my swag all rolled or whatever I need to do to be ready, because otherwise it, comes at you fast. So good idea to do that early sponsor loaded. If you can't make it Monday because the flights or whatever, then you do have time Tuesday from 9 to 2:30. And then by 2:30, you should be show ready because that's when we open to all ticket holders. So do some time on Tuesday, but it is going to go by fast. So, they'll kind of do like an all clear too at like, 1:30ish of like, cleaning up any boxes, clearing up any aisles before we open things up. So just keep that in mind. That's not a huge chunk of time. If you've got multiple people, there's no restrictions on how many people can come do early load in. That might be something to consider as well if you can only get there Tuesday. All your booths are turnkey in nature. So, your graphics will be set up, monitors will be there. If you order any extra furniture, that'll be there. Extra power, that'll all be there. It'll all be set, right? Any of your shipments will be there. It's just if you want them all at once or not. And yeah, it's just on you to, kind of, again, get yourself set up for success and 3 days of booth duty. Because we do go right into the opening reception on Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday are full-blown days. Load out on Thursday. So yeah, it's quite a bit of time between Monday to Thursday. I know it's a long kind of days there. But just a reminder here of hours. None of this is mandatory. Like if you're not shipping any swag and you're like, I'm just rolling up, then you can do that too. I've known folks who've done that. Because it is turnkey. So there is some to do. I would say on average, most sponsors give themselves about an hour to 90 minutes just to get, again, lay the land, get your badges, all that kind of thing. So when you're coming to registration, again, you can use any of these locations. We do also have a satellite registration at the Crown Plaza. So if you're staying there, which I know is sold out, and there's a number of hotels around the Crown Plaza that are sold out, you can still use this satellite registration. It has slightly different hours than our full campus. It also might be easier for you to get to than the full campus. As a sponsor, you can still use it to pick up your badge. So you can do that if you want. As a reminder, you do need to bring your photo ID when you come to pick up your badge. Once you get it, you do have to wear this badge at all times. Pretty please. Otherwise, yeah, there will be security asking you to get your badge back out. I know people like to take it off sometimes because they're like, I don't know, wear this 4 days and it's like clinking and like I want to wear better necklaces than the lanyard. I get it, but for safety purposes, we do need to have you wear your badge at all times. If you lose it, you'll need to go to the help desk to replace it. You can't just check back in, but there's a help desk at each registration, so try not to lose it. The other thing I note for sponsors is like we don't do bulk pickups. So if you're like, hey, I'm coming to pick, I'm Trish, I'm coming up to pick up all of the SaaStr team's badges. That's not going to work. Everybody has to pick up their own badge when they arrive because we do ID checks. So everyone does need to pick up their own badge as the named ticket holder. So it has to be them, right? It can't be like Amelia came day one and showed ID, and then I gave my badge to Trish, and then she tries to get in. We do daily ID checks. So anytime you come back, like they will see that, it says Amelia on the badge, but it says Trish on the ID, and they will send you to the help desk, and the help desk will be like, well, that's because this ticket is for Amelia and not for Trish. So bear that in mind. Again, right, there's no badge swapping, and everyone does need to pick up their own badge. All right, if you haven't downloaded it yet, this is a different app than the lead scanning app. So I know they're not, perfectly integrated for a lot of reasons, a lot of different functionality. But if you haven't yet, do download the SaaStr Events mobile apps. You can do brain dates on here. It will give you your ticket confirmation QR code, which is kind of nice. So if you're rolling up and you're like, I don't know where this email is, or somebody else on my team, which is more likely, sign me up for SaaStr and now I'm just here. Or if you want to tell your execs to download this app, right, it is very handy. I actually use it a lot for the agenda. So this is the app here. You could see, it's got like the attendee portal and stuff. It's got brain dates. And then yeah, your QR code is on here as well, which is quite handy. To get in on, it's just makes it a lot easier than trying to find your confirmation. Most of you will check in by last name. I'm gonna be honest. That's like our default. We'll take your ID, we'll search for your last name. Some of you obviously have more common last names than others, and so that's where that comes in handy. It's like if you know, like Trish King, I'm sure there's more than one King last name in our database. So, she may want to bring her QR code for me. I could probably get away with it. So, yeah, it is also good too, if for some reason, like they have an issue and they can't find you, I would have, either this QR code or your ticket confirmation. Makes it really easy if we need to look up your specific ticket. Again, that's a really rare scenario, but it might be somebody on your team like transferred that ticket to somebody else and you were meant to have it, right? So it's just good to have the ticket number handy. But yeah, like I said, the SaaStr Events mobile app, super handy. I use it for the agenda just to know what's going on where. It's the actually easiest way to figure that out. So I use the app. And then speaking of arrivals at SaaStr Annual, we do have parking, rideshare, and shuttle service. So if you need to park, it is a free parking pass. I know a lot of you have requested and have been asking us like, why haven't we gotten our actual passes yet? Again, there's nowhere, we're not parking yet. It's only August 29th. So we will start distributing these tomorrow, I believe, with the team. Now that we have, a lot of requests in, we'll start to distribute them tomorrow. You'll get them in your email. It's just a PDF. So you just bring that, you show it at the gate, or you can print it out and show it at the gate, and then they will let you in. If you do a 3-day pass, it's the same like PDF for all 3 days that has like a little barcode. They basically just scan your barcode once you get your parking. Now, if you're like, I have somebody who's coming and I don't know if I want to request, I would rather be safe than sorry. But also there's typically room for overflow parking at SaaStr Annual. So just keep that in mind too. But it is, on a first come, first serve basis. So if you want guaranteed parking, please do use the parking request form. Good question we've gotten on this is like, when does this cut off? We typically don't cut it off until I think even like the day of. So we still try and assign parking passes if you want like a 3-day instead. Obviously, there's going to be a lag because we're going to be doing other things. But we do try and give parking passes out. But like I said, sooner the better in case it does fill up. And they do need to go by those that are ticketed first versus just generic like overflow. If that does happen, there is overflow parking at Crown Plaza and where you can just jump on the shuttle and park there. Uber, Lyft or rideshare, any other form of transportation, there's dedicated Uber drop off. Usually they go to the bigger ones, so that's typically where most people will drop off. If you're grabbing an Uber, that is the dedicated pickup area. So even if you come in the other lot, which is like closer to sponsors, just know you'll be exiting a slightly different way because they will pick up in the bigger lot. So just keep that in mind. And then, yeah, we do have shuttles. So if you're staying, again, at the Crown Plaza, or it's easier for you to get to the Crown Plaza or Hampton Inn, you can go to any of those 2 hotels. They're within 10 minutes of the San Mateo County Event Center, and then grab the shuttle to come to SaaStr. So just keep that in mind for shuttles. Okay, last reminders on shipping. So if you have been shipping things and you haven't shipped them yet, it's probably too late to get it to the advanced warehouse by tomorrow. So at this point, you're going to want to ship it directly to the show site. Big reminder here, there's this tiny little thing called Labor Day on Monday. So that does impact shipping and delivery times as well as like receiving. Like, I don't like no one's going to ship on Monday, but it also means like, if you're shipping out something today, then there's Labor Day. And then, it's all of next week. There's a lot going on next week that is behind the scenes. We are already doing load-in for SaaStr Annual just because it is such a quite big campus. So again, you will need to make sure your shipments come ideally starting the 9th directly to the venue if you still need to ship things. I've said this before, but just as a friendly reminder, if you can, depending on your vendor, I would make sure your company name and or your booth number is on the label. So, when it says like ship to, put, your name, or you can even, a hack I've done is like I put my first and last name as my first name and then like the company name and booth number as my last name. So I can make sure it's printed on that label. That's a good hack that's worked for folks. If it's not labeled, we do open all the boxes. It just means we're going to have to play Clue on if these boxes are for you, especially if they're not logoed or anything. So yeah, kind reminder to make sure everything is labeled. There's a question here in the chat, which is a good one, so I'll answer it live, which is, if you still ship to the advanced warehouse now, like, can you do that? Like if your packages are already in transit or you literally ship it today, you can. It just means there's a late fee, right? Because they have to do an extra trucking run to go back to the warehouse and get your stuff versus it, already being on the truck, which literally leaves tomorrow. So that's why. So that's why that deadline is a real one. So yeah, that's why. So you can ship it there if it's already in transit. Not to worry, but yeah, it is just a late fee because they have to go back for it. But other than that, I would say ship to the venue. If you're doing anything last minute, this is the address again. Use my hack to put your, first name as your whole name and then last name is like company, booth number. That's usually the best way for us to get it. All right. Other things, I'll just hit a few fun things and then we could do any last questions. So I know a lot of you are starting to do brain dates and stuff. So this is one of the primary ways to network at SaaStr Annual. I've seen a lot more sponsors submitting, which is great. You got to be ticketed. So I know a lot of you last week during this webinar started ticketing people. So if you haven't done that yet, do that now. Brain dates are a pure learning experience. It's not a pure like networking grab of, I can see everyone attending and then I can just, I don't know, start to message them about my product or service. Our moderation team does see literally every message. So if you start spamming people, like if you get in the app and you're like, okay, I'm going to send the same message to all the attendees I can find. Yeah, we will flag that and turn your access off. So don't do that because that's obviously spamming. The way to do it is, we did a whole sponsor webinar on brain dates. So I'll just give you guys like the 60-second spiel, which is the first time you log into the platform, you'll see the code of conduct of like things that we would accept and things we wouldn't accept. So if you go on the platform now, also after you accept this, you'll see what's been accepted. I always see like that's a good rule of thumb. of, okay, what are other topics that I know people are sponsors that have up on the platform. Fullcast has a lot of them because they are the Brain 8 sponsor. And they've followed all they've followed all these guidelines, right? Like none of them have to do with their product or service. They're just sharing like their insights. So yeah, they've got like a lot of brain dates. I've seen some other folks with like some really great brain dates that are sponsors as well. Um, so yeah, again, not too late to get your brain dates in. You're still pre-event. You still have a whole week. Do recommend doing it pre-event because there is a moderation queue. So what that means is like once you submit your topic in a brain date, it will go into our moderation team's queue, and then they'll either approve it or they'll write you a nice little note if they're not approving it for whatever reason. So just keep that in mind of things, that are maybe not allowed, etc. The queue does take some time. I know some folks are like, okay, I submitted my topic and then like I never heard back. One, it's because we don't approve them all at once. We do kind of parse them out. So if you see like one of your topics get approved and the other one you didn't get a response, we're actually probably just waiting on that one. So that we can, we do try and keep it even of how many brain dates people can do, maximum for like any one given person. And yeah, again, the moderation queue does take time. So you either get an acceptance or you'll get that not rejection. Don't take it as a rejection, but just take it as I need to modify my topic slightly. The reason we reject topics is one, some people, including attendees, I would say it's mostly attendees who have been doing this and not the sponsors because you guys got a whole webinar, but mainly attendees have been like, this is my brain date. And I'm like, this is exactly the tagline of your website. I wonder if that's because that's what you do. So yeah, we don't allow that kind of thing. Obviously, that's too much of a product pitch or a commercial. We allow things that, are more topic leadership focused or like subject matter expert focused. All that kind of stuff is good. You'll see a lot of investors in here do, I'm looking to speak with founders, and then whatever size of check they usually write. Like a lot of investors have been doing that. Yeah, things like that, kind of more niche topics are all fine. Again, those are all on the platform. But yeah, things we primarily don't allow are things that are like pitchy or commercial or just people who didn't even try to be surprised. And people are like, meet me. I'm like, yeah, that's not a real brain date. Like once the other, person gets there for your brain date, what are you gonna talk about? Like yourself? Like okay, to some degree that's fine at like the parties and stuff, but for brain dates, you gotta have something that's gluing you together. So good to have an actual topic to focus on there for brain dates. And again, please do submit some of your topics. Again, I'm seeing a lot more sponsors do this. Again, we did a whole webinar on this, so I know Trisha sent that out, but you can also find it on youtube.com/SaaStr. Go to the live tab if you want more info there. So I'll go in lastly into our events by day, and then hopefully, again, this is really just to get you guys excited around like networking, how to meet people, etc. So there's a few different things by day, and also I glommed this in with sort of some of the new ways to network at SaaStr that we've done previously. So I talked about a little bit in terms of like sponsor hours, but day one is our big opening reception. It's also Tuesday, so we're blowing out the Taco Tuesday theme. You're welcome. I was like, why wouldn't we have Taco Tuesday on Tuesday? So yeah, we'll have a bunch of street tacos. One of them is birria, very trendy. And yeah, so that kind of thing. So we're gonna do a big opening reception. I should probably check if we're doing like margaritas or something that day, but anyways, there'll be lots of tacos and beer for sure. During the opening reception, this is in the expo halls. So again, do expect that there will be a lot of people coming for this and hanging out in like the cantina and coming to talk to sponsors. We do it because it's a heavy networking and meet the sponsors day for the attendee side, right? They're not coming early in the morning. They're just coming starting at 2. So for them, right, they're coming ready to network. We only have like 3 sessions that day as like kickoff sessions. Again, we keep the content limited. We do it so that attendees and sponsors have more time to talk to each other because the next 2 days it gets pretty wild and chaotic, right? So it is a good kickoff. That's why we call it the opening reception. And yeah, you should plan to have, people in your booth, and a lot of you have activations during this time. Because yeah, it's usually a good vibe and like a good kickoff to sort of somewhat ease into SaaStr annual. Coming into day 2, again, these are starting to be like the long full days. We do have a CFO Summit. So if your CFO or VP of Finance is attending SaaStr Annual, you do need to apply for all these things, right? So the opening reception is open. CFO Summit, they need to apply for. So just click this link, or it's on SaaStrAnnual.com. You'll see it on there too. Apply for the CFO Summit. Again, if it's your CFO or VP of Finance coming. Same thing if your CRO or CEO is coming, apply for Poker Night. I actually think we're going to cut off Poker Night soon because it's getting full. I literally just went through the list this morning and we're like, okay, we're getting close. So yeah, Poker Night's going to be fun. It's on the evening of Wednesday. So it starts at 4, it goes till 8. So yeah, it's going to overlap a bit with a big party. It's fine. It's in the same hangar, so you'll still be able to hear the music and play poker or go back and forth, if that's what you want to do. It is CRO and CEO only, so much like the CFO Summit, we do check badges and we do check the list of attendees who actually are registered and confirmed for this, so keep that in mind. It's better to be on that confirmation list than to try and get your CRO, CEO, or CFO in at the last minute. It's a little bit harder. So, all right, the big party open for everyone. So very exciting that Tita Lau is playing this year. She'll be playing at the big party on the big, stage A. She did play at Coachella this year. So if you were there, you might have seen her there. Or if you don't know, probably like, okay, I know Coachella's a big deal. So yeah, it's usually a really fun time at the big party. We've got food, we got drinks, we got really good music. And a lot of people like to hang out. So yeah, recommend going to the big party. I just find it is one of my favorite pieces of the annual. All right. And then last but not least, on day 3, there's a few more events if you're not exhausted yet of talking to people by the 3rd day. We've got CMO Brunch. We just announced the agenda for this. It is freaking killer. I had to stop myself there because we're on the live stream. It is pretty killer if you haven't seen it yet. Go to SaaStrAnnual.com, click the CMO Brunch. You can see some faces here. These are some really big names. So major thanks to everyone. And Carrie Lou, who helped us put it all together, and some of our sponsors helping us drive folks to it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It is a CMO Brunch. We did it kind of last year. We're blowing it out of the water this year. It'll be a fun time. Lots of big names. So if your CMO or VPM is coming, make sure they sign up for this one. We've gotten like hit up in terms of applications in the last 24 hours. Like people saw the agenda and they went a little wild. So yeah, be sure if your CMO is coming, sign up for this one. A good question we've gotten is like, how do I know if I like applied that I got confirmed? Well, one, if you're a sponsor and it's like, we've seen sponsors apply for all of these things, we do let you in, right? Because we know you're a sponsor. You will know because you'll get a calendar invite. So you get a calendar invite literally directly from me. It'll give you specific instructions of where to go for these things on campus and what to do. And then that means you're on the list. So that's how you'll know you get confirmed. We are trying to do these confirmations kind of quicker right now because I know people are eager to know if they can get in, but highly recommend you either apply for your CMO on their behalf or have them apply, because I think this one will fill up probably pretty fast if I had to guess, just based on the last 24 hours of it blowing up. So CMO Brunch, going to be crazy epic good last minute ad. For anybody whose CEO is looking for another round of funding, definitely recommend going to the new MEVC, VC, and Founders Brunch that we're doing in the Founders Lounge. So Rome has a Founders Lounge on site, and we're going to do like a MEVC specific CEO and investor lunch for folks to meet up. This one will be good. Again, it's gated. You can sign up right in the agenda. They'll check badges at the door based on whoever signs up, but it is going to be, CEOs and investors only. So if this is something your CEO wants to do, or if they want to go meet some investors, they've been nagging you about doing that, just send them to this brunch. It's a good way to do it on the last day. Okay. Last but not least, there is the CCO Summit. I say last but not least because I think it's full. So I think when I went to the page this morning, they were like, we may not accept anymore. And I was like, okay. So I think this one's full, but if you have a CCO as a sponsor, email us event@saasspring.com so I can get them on the list. Because otherwise I think they've cut off all the open invitations now. So yeah, this is going to be a really good one. It also has a stacked agenda. It's got like Salesforce, Notion, Slack, Tableau. Somehow our summits got stacked, which is great. So good things to try and go to, right? If your teams qualify for any of these events within the event. All right, so a few folks are asking in the chat, how do we get these slides? So I'm going to drop it into the chat right now. I think I've made it through all of the slides we wanted to go through. Anywho, you'll see some data in here of, previous things we've gone over in other things. So I'm just gonna drop this in the chat to everyone. Okay, there you are. You guys can now access those slides. There's a question in here on shipping, so you guys can keep your questions coming because we'll just rapid answer any last questions. I'm gonna go through, we've gone through that. So yeah, I'll just answer any last questions. Okay, you guys got the slides. There is a question on if our boxes arrive early to the show site, is that possible? Yes. I hope it's not coming like now. You may get hit. Same thing with Freeman. You may just get hit with you may just get dinged with an early delivery fee, because it's technically not supposed to get there yet. Again, for a number of reasons, but I also would just bear in mind that if for some reason your stuff is getting shipped and it says this Saturday delivery, the event center doesn't receive deliveries on Saturdays. There's not going to be anyone there this Saturday. So again, I would try and check with your carrier. If it is arriving early to show site, we do start loading in and stuff like that now. But again, Labor Day weekend. So we're not going to load in on Labor Day and stuff. So there won't be anyone around, Sunday, Monday to receive your package. So this is a very long-winded answer, but basically if it's getting to show site early, try and work with your carrier to have it come starting next Tuesday. That's the 4th. That's after Labor Day, because then we will have the means to actually give you confirmation that we've got it and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it is a little bit too early, but doesn't mean it's going to get turned away by default, again, unless it's this weekend, in which case it's Labor Day weekend. Other than that, you should be fine. Again, you may just get hit with a slight fee. Okay. The next question is, are you guys sending a reminder email to people on the days prior to the event? So this is a good question. And this is where, again, if you're registered, you'll start to get the attendee newsletters. Hopefully you guys got yours last week. We don't do separate attendee and sponsor. Well, I guess we do because Trish does them. So Trish will make sure you guys get an email, next week with kind of final reminders. And then at that point, you will start to get the attendee newsletters that are by day. You will get one Monday. And then, we start them Monday the 9th, so 9, 10, 11, 12. You'll get one every day, which is good high level information for the day. But at that point, yeah, it does flip over. A next question is if you can't attend next week's call, which is the last one. So I'll just keep that in mind for folks. Next week's is the last SaaStr Insider webinar, pretty annual. We are going to go through final reminders, much like we did today, and anything that comes up. So it'll be super similar content. So if you can't make that one because you're traveling, we do, as a reminder, record and live stream all of these. So I'll share it with you guys where it's at. So you go to youtube.com/SaaStr. Go to this live tab. You can see we're live right now. And this is where you can find all the recordings. This is last week's recording where we talked about networking and that kind of stuff. This is the one where we talked about brain dates. And so, yeah, all of those recordings are there. So if you can't make the next one, you can still watch it back. Okay, if a package is delivered to Freeman, but it may or may not have SaaStr on the label, should I call them to fix it? As long as it has your company name, they should be able to find it. It just means I would recommend emailing us events@SaaStr Inc. with your tracking and your delivery confirmation if it's already gotten delivered or it's in transit, because then they can go find it for you now, right? If you already know that the label might be not perfect or say who you are and that it needs to go to SaaStr. Usually Freeman will put 2 and 2 together, but I always think it's best just to email us so we can loop them in, so they can find your package now and make sure it's on the track, right? So good thing to find it now. Again, I think they have found 99.9% of shipments throughout the years of people being okay, this got shipped and we can't find it, and then they find it. It is a big warehouse though, right? So the more information on it, the better. Okay, there's a few other questions here that I'll follow up with individually. But other than that, yeah, lots of really great reminders pre-event. So I know annual is coming up quickly. Thanks all for joining. We will do final reminders on next week's last SaaStr Insider webinar. Hopefully you guys have a chance to actually take a break this weekend with Labor Day in the States, and then, get into annual mode. So anything else I missed, Trish?
For those of you with activations, we
Oh
have
yeah,
another starting in 15 minutes. Please be there. It'll be quick but informative.
it'll be quick. Yeah, we're just gonna hit like super specific things. If you have an activation, I don't think it'll take more than 15 minutes, and we can answer any questions. But it is good to come to that. Or again, we will record that one. I don't think we'll stream it because it's a little more sensitive. But we will record that one in case you guys need to share it out with your team or just have your broader team know this information if you have an activation. So yeah, don't miss that at the top of the hour if you do have an activation. Otherwise, we will see you guys next Thursday. Only 12 days till annual. So get excited, plan your outfits, make your friendship bracelets, and we will see you there.